Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of Esoeroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the portal of enchantment. Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, and I am the creatrix of Esoeroticism. And I also help mystically minded folks awaken their innate dark feminine magic. And for this first podcast, I wanted to demystify our namesake, which is Esoeroticism. What is Esoeroticism? If you have not heard this word before, that would make sense because I made it up. I trademarked it years ago, and essentially it's a combination of the words esoteric and erotic. So erotic, a very sexual, sensual style of embodied expression. And then esoteric, so hidden, enigmatic, mysterious. The prefix eso means internal. So I always want us, when it comes to esoeroticism, to consider it as a form of erotic, sensual, sexual, embodied expression, but not for the purpose of performance or for external validation or some kind of gains. Instead, it's an inner practice of excavation, of awakening, of healing. To put it even more simply and succinctly, Esoeroticism is a way to access sexual energy, which we'll get more into in a moment, outside of intercourse. So many times when I speak with people about esoeroticism, I get the initial pushback, either my sex life is good, I don't need anything like that, or I'm not really a sexual person. And to both of those, I say it is so important that we understand that our sexual energy is so much more than sex. Our sexual energy is what makes life juicy, what makes us walk through our day lit up. So our sexual energy is our creativity, our life force vitality. It's our directed passion and our magnetism. So if you feel like your life is dry, if you're lacking passion, if you're lacking some kind of inner flame, if you feel like you're always chasing, this is where esoeroticism can really serve, and we can start to think of sexual energy beyond the bedroom, because here's the thing, we're all sexual humans in one way or another. However, I think a lot of us disassociate with that side of ourselves because we aren't interested in, or we don't identify with, the media-driven monolith that we've been so programmed to believe that sexuality looks like. We're led to believe that sexuality has a certain age and body shape and style. Or many people I have found have been led to believe that our sexuality is truly just relegated to the bedroom, or even worse, that it is literally just for someone else's pleasure or for mere procreation. And in all of these instances, we are really limiting the magical potential of owning our sexual energy for ourselves. Because of this, I am completely disinterested in what someone's sexual identification or orientation or relationship status, or whether even they identify as asexual. All of those things are irrelevant with esoeroticism because it is so beyond that. And here's what I have found when people use this esoerotic practice, how it applies to their mundane life, is that it helps awaken their magnetic power, their sensual pleasure, which is especially big in a world where we have been manipulated and controlled by means of disassociation, but we'll have a future episode on that. But magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and our unlimited creative potential. And I mean, who wouldn't want to amplify these qualities in their life? So let's talk about the practice a little bit. So, like I said, it is an embodied expression. And the way that we access this sexual energy is through erotic, sensual, sexual dance and movement. But I don't want you to think about this as like a dance modality that is technical, that has all of these predetermined movement sequences. It's nothing like that. Instead, the dance and the movement is guided and facilitated in a way that allows us to first access and awaken that sexual sacral energy in our sexual energy center. A lot of the movement that we guide through involves circling out the hips, it's undulations, it's circular, and all of that essentially awakens the sexual center. And then we use serpentine style movement to then circulate that sexual energy throughout the rest of our body. However, I always try to be really vocal that esoeroticism is not quote unquote sexy dance. And I think if you would maybe land on our Instagram page or like peek into a class, which we wouldn't let you, but for all intents and purposes, for this example, you would just think, oh, that's just like sexy dance. No. The magic, the secret sauce of esoeroticism is actually alchemizing this esoerotic dance and movement with ritual magic. So the transformation within esoeroticism happens when you are able to drop into a state of esoerotic gnosis. Gnosis is spelled Gnosis. This is a technique inspired by chaos magic, which is a form of ritual magic that I have been studying and practicing for well over a decade. And essentially, when you are doing your esoerotic dance and movements, and you are able, because of how it's guided, to drop into this state of esoerotic gnosis, you are able to access a subconscious brainwave state. You can consider it a form of subconscious sorcery. And when we're out of our mind and we're dropped into our bodies and into this subconscious state, this is where the magic happens. This is where, through our intention and our embodiment, we're ultimately able to realign ourselves with reclaiming our sexual sovereignty and our bodily autonomy. And at the end of the day, that is the greater intention of esoeroticism, to guide people into reclaiming their sexual sovereignty and their bodily autonomy, and in doing so, connecting again with their greater magnetic power, their sensual pleasure, and their endless creative potential. All of these are intertwined. It's important to note that so many people have been disconnected from their sexual energy, whether that be because of a big T trauma, which we always say, please go see a qualified therapist if that's something you're moving through. But unfortunately, because of the society we live in, we all have some kind of little T trauma that we can address through this modality. And I have truly witnessed so many people moving through what they thought was a forever disassociation or disconnection from their bodies and their sexual self. And to me, the secret of it all is, as is within, so is without. And so as our subconscious self believes, so we see reflected in our external world. This is a magic axiom. And if we want to reclaim our sexual sovereignties and our bodily autonomy, it is something that we have to do internally. Again, leading back to the esoerotic gnosis, which I'll do a whole future episode on esoerotic gnosis and chaos magic, but I want to keep us focused in this episode. And so remember, we talked about that inner realignment. This is why things like reading books, listening to podcasts, dressing a certain way in order to evoke a sexual awakening will never work. Those are all conscious behaviors. And so truly, hopefully you're seeing the alchemization of esoeroticism is, like I said, so much more than sexy dance. It is a very erotic, sensual movement and dance expression, but not like a lot of the stuff you see out there. We make this accessible. We make it allowable for everyone to bring their own unique, authentic expression to the practice. And then beyond that, we have learned how to ritualize the experience in a way where literal internal transformation and dark feminine magic takes place. And so I want to wrap up this first episode. I wanted to keep it short. Know that in future episodes, we're going to converse. We're going to bring on guests. We're going to go more deeply into the little nuances of esoeroticism and dark feminine magic. But this is meant to be a primer into what we're even talking about and demystifying esoeroticism as a modality. And so, esoeroticism, a way to access sexual energy outside of intercourse. Why? Why would we want to do that? Because our sexual energy is so much more than sex. It is our life force, our creativity, our directed passion, our magnetism, and all of these are energies and qualities that I believe we should all aspire to embody. And I truly believe that this is part of the greater awakening and paradigm shift happening right now, that we are truly leaving behind our overdependence on the masculine qualities of linearity, of external achievement, of being disassociated in the body in lieu of the logical mental self. And I would love for all of us to be leading the way in this new world. And this is a powerful practice to support us through this. So, no, just listening to this podcast is not enough for you to truly understand what esoeroticism is. It's something that has to be embodied and experienced to be truly felt and understood. But that being said, I think it's really important to share the what, the why, the how, and I do hope that you join me at some point for an esoerotic ritual experience. So online offerings, in-person offerings, retreats. I do certifications where I actually teach practitioners how to integrate ritual and our esoerotic ritual formula into other somatic practices for greater efficacy and transformation. But also my passion is always going to be just working with anyone who feels like there's something in their life missing and they feel desirable and lit up by the potential of stepping into this energy. So you can follow me at crimson.minx on Instagram or at minx.muse, minx.muse, M-U-S-E on Instagram. That's kind of the business around it. The other is my personal. But also check out Esoerotic.com to see what we got coming up. I would love to make magic with you. And speaking of magic, the next episode is going to be on what the hell is the dark feminine and dark feminine magic. So I hope to see you there. But thank you so much for watching. Mwah! And I will see you again soon. Bye. Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit esoerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.